All right, everyone, welcome back. So we're now going to be going into another panel right now, and I think this one's obviously one that's pretty true and dear to everyone's heart. So this panel will look at the journey various organizations have undertaken to adapt and improve their business continuity plan. I think all of ours definitely didn't have some of these options on it before this pandemic. In the wake of this shifting disruption, we all need to consider these forms of disruption moving forward. And so it's no longer enough to be simply able to learn from past mistakes. We need to actually be able to consider all avenues to ensure future disruption never affects us like this again. So joining me will be Tommy, Global Head of Contact Centers for Optus, Sandy McIntosh, General Manager of Member Service Delivery for RACV, and we'll also be going to Tristan Vardy to talk through their advice and expertise in business continuity planning this year.
Thank you and welcome to our panel today. Really excited to learn a few insights about today's topic, of which is about improving the speed of response through business continuity planning and a flexible operating strategy. So today's panel will look at the journey that different organisations have undertaken to adapt and improve their business continuity plan in the wake of shifting disruption. With the need to consider all forms of disruption moving forward, it'll no longer be enough to simply learn from our past mistakes. Leaders today need to consider all avenues to ensure future disruption never affects their organisation again. We're going to learn why businesses' continuity planning will be a critical component for the contact centre and the learning these leaders have uncovered over the past 12 months. Today we have some really fantastic leaders that I know that I and I'm sure everyone will take some great insights from. I'll start off with some introductions. My name's Tristan Vardy. I'm a really passionate contact centre leader, having led contact centres across a number of industries, including banking, finance, automotive and travel. But today, really importantly, our great panelists, we've got Tommy and also Sandy. And I might just hand over now to the gentlemen to do some introductions for themselves. We might start with Tommy.
Hi everyone, an absolute pleasure to be here. My name is Tommy Tzertis and I'm the head of the Global Contact Centres at Optus. So I have the privilege to look after all the contact centre teams across our global network at Optus.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tommy. And as I said before, we also have Sandy from RACV.
Thanks, Tristan. Great to be here. I'm the General Manager of Member Service Delivery at the RACV, which is the auto club here in the state of Victoria. I manage the contact centre for RACV, which is a single site contact centre, along with our retail distribution network. So all of our shop network around Victoria as well.
Fantastic. Thank you both very much today. Really interesting topic, something I know that all leaders will have had plenty of experience in dealing with over the past 12 months. So really looking to learn from your lived experiences. I might start with Tommy with our first question. And what I'd like to understand is how Optus has taken a journey this past year when it came to improving BCP and business continuity planning.
Yeah, huge topic. I mean, this year, the level of disruption that we've seen in our contact centres has really been unprecedented. You know, back in March last year, we lost over 85% of our contact centre workforce due to the COVID-19 shutdowns. And with that significant challenge, really came a big opportunity to shine the light on our BCP plans. I mean, pre-COVID, our BCP plans were, very siloed. They didn't roll up into an overarching company plan. We did not undertake, regular simulations to test the readiness of the organisation to respond, quickly in a coordinated fashion. We did not anticipate in our BCP a complete shutdown of our contact centre locations. We had 11 different contact centre locations around the world and felt that that was really sufficient to manage, any localised disruption. But now we've improved our BCP plan and readiness significantly, and we needed to because of COVID. We started off by engaging an external organisation that really specialises in risk management and BCP frameworks to drive an organisation-wide approach. We established the right governance structures and determined, clear roles and responsibilities across the organization when it comes to crisis management. But more importantly, we now undertake regular simulations to test our readiness and fix any gaps we see. With the contact centers, we took steps to ensure that any future disruption never affects our organization again like it did with COVID. A few things that we did: we accelerated our messaging strategy, which is moving customer contact away from our traditional voice centers to our messaging platform via the Optus app. And customers can now send us their inquiry via messaging, and we'll notify them when we've responded. No more waiting in queue to get your problem solved. That now accounts for 50% of our contact center volume. We've tested and deployed, as I'm sure many organizations have, a work from home secure solution globally for our contact centers, and we can roll it out at scale when we need to. We also established during the peak of the pandemic what I call contact center microsites. So in a 24-hour period, and this is unbelievable, we set up an additional 22 contact center sites to minimize the risk of COVID infection and the risk that it presented to our workforce. And of course, I'm sure, there's the big saying, who has driven the digitization of your organization? Well, COVID has. And we've really accelerated our digital capability. We've deployed AI and we've partnered with Google in our channels. And that now accounts for more than 20% of our contact volume. So it's been an incredible journey, one that I've learned a lot, and it's really transformed how we think about and manage our BCP framework.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tommy. So it really sounds to me like prior to 2020 that maybe not all the risks had either been considered in terms of its true possible impact, or the modelling in place to restore services and business continuity maybe hadn't been as rigorously tested, which you've done some really great things to improve upon. Really interested to hear about how you've been able to move some of your contact streams through to messaging channels. You said that's about 50% of total contact centre volume now. How much, what was the percentage prior to 2020?
Oh, it was less than 20%. I mean, prior to that, we had live chat, which many organizations deploy as well. But we shifted away from live chat. The power of messaging is you can leave your inquiry with us and we can get back to you at an appropriate time, usually in less than 5 minutes. We promoted it across our website. We promoted it in our IVR. And what we saw with messaging is an acceleration of our customer experience results. I mean, 18 months ago, our NPS was plus 19. Now it's plus 54, 54.2 to be exact for January. Our customers love it. I think the other reason why they love it is because it contains 18 months worth of history of your interaction. So you've got that record, you've got that peace of mind that we've got your inquiry and that we have solved it. So I think, it's been an organic growth, and that's really been premised on delivering great customer experience, and customers are loving it.
Fantastic. And by diversifying your offerings of channel and moving a percentage of contacts to maybe more digital channels such as messaging, does that help to remove some of those redundancies from other technologies that maybe sometimes require on-premise or people to be servicing from a physical location? Has that been something which has helped you to continue your business in that scenario?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, one great example of that is when we saw those global shutdowns, we saw the same shutdowns in Australia. And a lot of our retail network was also closed. So, we had a lot of stranded labor across our retail network. As the contact centers overseas were shut down, we redeployed our entire retail network in the stores to handle messaging inquiries. And that enabled that speed of response and ensuring that we continue to service our customers. So that was a great example of how we've used messaging, the COVID impact, and our retail network to quickly recover our contact center operation.
Fantastic. It really sounds like you've implemented some things that not only have protected your people and have ensured your ability to continue running your business, but it's also a better experience for your customers and for the business as well. Great. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's really great to learn about. Sandy, would you like to share a little bit about RACV and the journey that you've been on the past year regarding your BCP?
Sure. You know, I think you certainly learn a lot about your BCP when it comes to the test. I think a lot of organisations do simulations of BCP, and I can recall a simulation probably about 5 years ago I did with an organisation, and the scenario we simulated was a pandemic. And I can remember sitting there thinking, yeah, right, like that's going to happen. And here we are in the middle of exactly that scenario. So I think we learnt in our BCP situation, as I said, we operate a single site contact centre. And the crux of our BCP was, in the event that we lost our site, we'd relocate our agents into our head office location and we'd operate from there. So we'd failed to consider really the situation that both of those sites would not be available. And so we had to, like many contact centres in Australia, redeploy our workforce home and operate the contact centre from home, to which we had some huge learnings. Mind you, we managed to achieve that incredibly quickly, given that we didn't have agents with laptops, we didn't have cloud telephony, we were short a whole lot of technical functionality, but we didn't experience any disruption to service over that period. In fact, our 24/7 roadside assistance call centre, which is really our flagship call centre service that we offer, continued to maintain service right across that process as we gradually moved agents out of our contact centre and set them up to operate from home. So yeah, that was our biggest learning, is really about risk management and really thinking through all the possible scenarios that really had to be covered. We failed to do that, but we also learned, I think, how quickly an organisation can respond when it's under pressure. And I really saw all parts of our organisation, you know, our technical and IT people, our properties people, wherever they were, really rose to the challenge. And like I said, without any interruption to service delivery through that process.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So you've both touched a little bit on maybe some learnings or identifying improvements regarding your BCP. If you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about your BCP pre-COVID and what you think maybe the 2 or the 3 biggest opportunities for improvement were and what those learnings have been.
For me?
Might go to you, Tommy, if you'd like to share a little bit about your pre-COVID BCP.
Yeah, I mean, pre-COVID, BCPs were very silo focused. You know, we had, you know, one in the contact centers, you know, a different one in marketing, you know, a different one in network. And they really didn't roll up into an overarching, you know, unified company plan. We would never test it out. Whenever something happened, we would scramble to get together, and that didn't really provide a cohesive response to what we wanted to do. So, you know, no simulations. We never tested the readiness, and therefore, you know, the coordination in the organisation was actually quite poor. And of course, when you plan out BCP scenarios, we absolutely could not anticipate that we would be in a global pandemic. None of us have experienced it in our lifetimes. And I could never have anticipated that I would need to plan a BCP that was a complete shutdown of our contact centers. I always could manage, you know, a shutdown of one. And as I said, you know, we had about 11 locations before. One localized shutdown was okay, but we could never tolerate every single contact center shutting down within the space of a week. So, you know, before that, poor planning, very siloed, no simulation whatsoever. That's what the pre-COVID world looked like for us.
You mentioned initially that you've worked with external consultants or people that specialise in BCP. Can you share a little bit about your experience doing that and some of the learnings you've taken away?
Yeah, so we actually engaged Risk Logic to help us. And I think the reason that we did that is, you know, within the organisation, you know, we're all specialists in the jobs that we do, but we're not specialists in crisis management. We're not specialists in BCP planning. So for me, you know, the thing that we needed to really get our head around is we needed that expertise to come in. We needed that expertise to bring in what are the global learnings, what are the best practices that are out there today, and really bring them into the organization to strengthen the organization. So that's what we did. We did need that help. And I think, you know, as any great organization will reach out and get help when it really wants to strengthen its framework. And that's what COVID really forced us in a direction to do.
Fantastic. And you're testing that new BCP more regularly now?
Yes, we had a cyber threat, incident, a simulated incident, which is very prevalent globally at the moment. And I don't think I've ever enjoyed myself more in that simulation. During it, I felt that it was real. You know, the words that people were using were real. And we all worked together across the organization, networks, marketing, contact centers, to really mitigate the threat. And I think that's really placed us in a really strong position going forward with any threat to the organization.
Great. Thank you very much. I might ask Sandy our next question now, and this is really all around operating structures. So Sandy, what are the key ways your team is integrating a strong operating structure within the contact centre to drive efficiency?
I think, you know, like I said, we've come from being a single site call centre where you have incredible amounts of control, I suppose, in terms of managing from day to day, and we're now operating, you know, a 700 site call centre with our agents still at home and only just starting to return to the workforce. And I expect, or to the workplace, I should say, and I expect that we will continue to use agents working from home simply because the cat's out of the bag, and it's going to be very hard to change that. And a lot of organisations are experiencing that. So we have learnt and are still learning to operate in that model. And so we're building much more robust support functions. Our workforce planning team, the team that real-time manage our call centre, is critically important to us now. They need to have eyes and ears out there as to what's going on in our 700 location contact centre, where we have all sorts of technical issues with people's internet connections that are affecting productivity and those sorts of things. So those centralised points of management that allow us to operate more flexibly are incredibly critical. The other thing that we're doing is we're building a lot more flexibility into our teams. I said before that I manage a retail network. Our retail network is now part of our call centre team. They used to just serve members in store. Now every single one of our stores is a mini contact centre answering calls. So again, central structures, looking at our workforce wherever they may be around Victoria, utilising them as we need them.
Fantastic. I think that's a really brilliant solution. I think businesses that embrace the idea of utilising your retail shop fronts as an extension of your contact centre teams really get some great results. It makes a lot of sense, not just from an efficiencies perspective, but I think certainly from a customer experience and a cultural perspective, it can absolutely drive a lot of benefit as well. So great to hear how that's influencing the way that you're working. You talked a bit about embracing remote working, that the cat's out of the bag and it's probably here to stay. Do you foresee the need to invest in technologies going forward to really be able to support that and maintain service and the right quality outcomes whilst delivering that flexibility to your people?
Yeah, I think, this has really made us think about our technology strategy. And while we coped at home, there was, a little bit of sticky tape and string being used to hold things together. So, we've already embarked on a transition to full cloud telephony, which we will complete by the end of this financial year, which allows us, a greater robustness in terms of agents working from whatever locations, whether they be in an RACV location or at home. We've transitioned all of our agents from desktop to laptop, so that, obviously so they can work from home, but as they return to the workforce, they will continue on laptops to allow that flexibility, perhaps to blend agents partly working from home, partly in the office. So we're not really 100% sure on where we're going to land operationally, but we're building the technology and the infrastructure to give us ultimate flexibility on what that landing point may be.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Sandy. Tommy, I might ask you the next question. You've referred to some silos in your business and how that's impacted your operations. So the question I have is what strategies we can employ to shift away from silos, either within our business or contact centres, to drive improved results?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a problem for many years and for many organisations. At Optus, our vision is to become, Australia's most loved everyday brand with lasting customer relationships. So one strategy that we've deployed is that this financial year, everyone in the organisation is bound by some common KPIs. And they are essentially our customer NPS scores and our TIO complaint volume. So it doesn't matter where you work, whether it's in head office, in networks, in marketing, we're all bound by the same common goal. And that changes the dynamic of the organisation to think differently and work together to achieve those goals. So that means, better products and services to reduce defects that drive a poor experience. We have a customer experience forum that meets fortnightly, and it's comprised of, key decision makers from all parts of the organisation, where we elevate those customer pain points, but also more importantly, work very quickly to address them. I mentioned before the improvement in our CX or NPS scores, from +19 to +54. But we've also seen, in the last 12 months, a 26% reduction in our TIO complaint volume. But more pleasingly, and this just came out just recently, we completed our annual staff engagement survey for my business, and we've seen a 14-point lift in the question that asks around effective collaboration between different business units. Traditionally, that was our poorest performing question, and a 14-point lift is great progress. We're not at the global high performing norm for that area of our engagement survey, but we are well on our way. So my key lesson is bound the organisation together in common KPIs, because the dynamic will change and people will work differently to really drive that customer experience outcome.
Great. So I guess to summarise, it really sounds like the business has put a lot of effort into articulating a common goal, a North Star, aligning across the entire business what's really important, and being able to, I guess, articulate that and then hold yourselves accountable has helped to create more unity across the organisation. When COVID first occurred and you were starting to roll out your BCPs, do you have any examples where that improved culture and that, I guess, oneness across the organisation really played out and helped you to get better results?
Yeah, I mean, a classic example is, we had the contact center, customer service, separate to our retail network, all the stores we have across Australia. And when COVID hit, as I said before, 85% of our contact center was knocked out within the short space of a week. We also have a lot of casuals that work in our retail network, and their employment could have been compromised as many cities closed down within Australia as well. So the ability to really transform and work with our retail network to transform what was a retail face-to-face organization into a contact center, a messaging contact center across Australia is probably the best example that I can share, where two organizations came together and worked together to solve our common problems. And I think that showed a powerful example within the organization about that we can be remarkably successful when we work together. So I think that's probably the most powerful example that I can share with you.
Fantastic. It's great to hear how positive cultures really deliver the right results, both for customers and inside the organisation itself. So well done. I think that it really shows the strength of an organisation when you're managing through challenging and difficult times. So great to hear that you've achieved those results. Sandy, I might ask you a little bit about how RACV is scaling your operation and how that's supporting your continuity planning.
Look, I think the one thing we've learnt over this period is how important flexibility is, and to me, that's the key. Flexibility, is partly around where people are working. When people are at home, and we've got a really hot day, and our breakdown service is getting loads of calls, it's very easy for us to scale that up very, very quickly when our agents are sitting at home and can easily just jump on the phone and help out. But flexibility in terms of skill, and I've talked about retail, and that seems to be a common thread for both Optus and RACV, and I'm sure other organisations, but also within the contact centre. The more multi-skilling we do gives us greater flexibility. It gives us that ability to scale up, to scale down, etc., etc. And also employment relationships. What percentage of our workforce is on a permanent arrangement? What is casual? We don't outsource at the moment, but can we use providers to help us manage the peaks and troughs and give us greater flexibility in our business? And I think the COVID pandemic has forced us to ask a whole lot of questions that we probably were complacent about previously. And I think we will walk away from this pandemic with so much more flexibility in our workforce, and therefore the ability to move our business up and down a lot more easily than we have been able to before.
Great. I completely agree that flexibility is absolutely key. And I think that the fact that you're also focused on multi-skilling, developing your people, again, will just contribute towards engagement within your own team, which is a really important risk in itself to be managing. And there are many, many benefits that will drive efficiency gains, improvement in CX, along with a happier, more capable team. So great to hear your focus is there. Tommy, how about yourself? What is Optus doing to scale operation and support BCP?
Yeah, we've and this is the exciting bit about our strategy. When COVID hit, we actually accelerated our strategy. So the way we're kind of scaling the operation is in a few key ways. Historically, before BCP, we had specialized call centers in specific locations. And that really put a risk to the business, because if that location went down, then that entire expertise would be gone, and there was no other location that could pick that up. So, and what we did, we started a strategy called the TEX strategy, or Team of Experts. So Team of Experts establishes a community of 45 contact center experts that service a specific geography in Australia. So for example, one community will service all inquiries that come in from, let's say, Bendigo in Victoria. That community of contact center experts has all the skills and expertise required to service any sales or service inquiry. And the mentality of the contact center shifted to almost running a small business, because that community owns the sales and service performance of the geography in Australia that they manage. And it was actually quite powerful from a cultural perspective. Our goal, no more transfers. You know, we had a 25% transfer rate in the organization, and customers hate being transferred. So our goal is 0 customer transfers when we conclude our transformation next year. I've talked about our NPS scores. Our employee attrition has also halved. You know, last month I sort of reviewed how our attrition is going, and halved. We're sort of halfway through our journey, but the results that I'm seeing so far are very promising. And by the conclusion of this calendar year, every single geography in Australia will be serviced by their dedicated team of experts.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Now, final question today, and I'm really interested in you both on this one. Sandy, I might start off with you here, and I'd like to understand what you think the essentials versus the desirables or the nice to have regarding contact center and BCP framework.
Look, I think there's 2 parts to this. There's sort of the governance side of BCP, and I know Tommy's touched on quite a bit of that the organisation can work effectively when they hit a crisis. And so good planning, good governance is absolutely critical in a BCP. And look, and I think for us at RACV, we've done a lot of work in that space, and it worked well. The second piece is, what's your actual plan? What's your technology plan? Those sorts of things. And to me, that's where, you know, there's real questions with technology around what you need to be doing in order to have a more robust BCP. And I mentioned, you know, cloud telephony, I think, is an absolute essential moving forward, and it's a very important transition for us. You know, laptops or bring your own device arrangements versus having fixed desktops in a physical environment is absolutely essential. So those sorts of technology decisions, I think, are the real critical part of your BCP being robust and working for you.
Yeah, great. I absolutely agree. Tommy, in your contact center, what are the essentials versus the desirables?
Well, look, with a BCP plan, I guess my view is everything is essential and nothing is desirable, right? And that is what this year with COVID has really taught me. So, you know, the essentials, number 1, practice your BCP plan regularly and identify any gaps and fix them quickly. Have, you know, roles and responsibilities. It really helps, you know, everyone to remain calm, and it provides that structure that you need. Accelerate your digital transformation. Don't wait. Make sure that the user experience is world-class. You know, Sandy spoke about technology. Cloud contact center is essential. Have a plan for a complete and total shutdown. I can't imagine any BCP plan in a contact center would have anticipated a complete and total shutdown of their entire operation. So plan for that. Bring in external expertise. You will open yourself up to a world of different possibilities that you could not have planned for. And my aim is, you know, where possible, aim for less than 2-hour implementation time for your BCP to kick in. So they're kind of my kind of essentials.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think there's been some really common themes today. Clearly, exercising and simulating your scenarios in your BCP and doing that regularly, ensuring that you have a robust plan in place and that it is working and that it's a living document that is absolutely fit for purpose for your organisation. And I think the other key takeouts I've taken from both of you today is investing in your technology, having a strategy that is aligned to supporting business continuity. And I think a big piece around this is people. How do we take care of our people? How do we provide them flexibility and solutions that support and protect their health, certainly in a pandemic, and that we're meeting our obligations and our duty of care to our people, but how are we also providing to them an employment proposition which is attractive, which again manages risks for our business and will support longer term sustainable results. So some really interesting insights. I certainly learned a lot from both of you today. So thank you very much for your time and sharing today. And I hope that the rest of your day is enjoyable.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen.